Good morning and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
Hey, good morning.
Good
Super.
morning.
All right. We are mid-April and we are off and running here on Saturday morning. For those that are new to this program, this is Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, I know that's early for anybody that's out of the Eastern Standard Time zone, or even for those that are in this time zone. But don't worry if you're not up and wanting to participate live. This does get uploaded to the Voices of HealthPointe YouTube channel, so you can always catch it asynchronously in that manner. So we're going to get off, as we often do, on a handful of docket items. And then what's most fun is how we just have round robin discussions, and we'll go for roughly an hour. And it's always a great fun time. We never know what tangents we're going to get on, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to have a docket item that I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And a lot of the content comes from Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He's a professor, and it's on the topic of why zebras don't get ulcers. Okay, so I'm going to kind of unpack that. And then for those that are part of the program and maybe in a 6-week cycle, you may have heard from time to time the terminology called bookending. And so that is a concept where you proactively do something before and then after a known event. And so to help flesh that out on two very critical areas of HealthPointe, one is on detoxing the mind around particular events, and the other is we won't necessarily say detoxing the body, but certainly on a health and wellness standpoint when it comes to weight loss and so forth, bookending in terms of how you're eating and so forth. And with Easter Sunday being tomorrow, these are two very, very relevant topics on bookending. So that will be fun. So Carol will be doing the bookending of the mind, kind of detoxing the mind, and then Kathy will be doing on some detoxing or bookending on the eating front. So with that, I'm going to get into my topic on why zebras don't get ulcers. And it's, if you haven't picked up on it, it's understanding and easing chronic stress. Okay, so stress is part of being human. It's our body's built-in alarm system designed to help us respond to danger or challenge. But in today's world, that system can go into overdrive and stay there. To understand what's going wrong and how to make it better, it helps us first understand what stress is, what it does to the body, and why chronic stress many people feel today is more than, quote, just being busy. So looking into the biology of stress, when your brain perceives a threat, whether it's a tiger in the jungle, hence the zebra, okay, a tiger in the jungle, or a difficult email from your boss, it activates a part of your nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system. This kicks off the fight or flight response. I'm sure many of us have heard that fight or flight type of response. Do you run or do you fight? So your body floods with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. We've talked a lot about those adrenal factors. These raise your heart rate, tighten your muscles, sharpen your focus, and mobilize glucose for quick energy. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I mean, when you think about it, this fight or flight response, the secretion of these hormones that just, I mean, we felt it, right? You hear somebody drops a pan in the kitchen and it just jolts you, right? And that's that adrenaline. And what's it doing? It's raising your heart rate, it's tightening your muscles, it's sharpening your focus, and it's mobilizing glucose for quick energy, which can be good, particularly if you're being chased by a tiger. In acute stress, this system helps. It's useful in emergencies or even just before a job interview or athletic performance. Once the challenge passes, the parasympathetic nervous system steps in to calm everything back down. Your heart rate slows, digestion resumes, and the body returns to balance. And that's what scientists call homeostasis. But the problem arises When that stress switch gets stuck in the on position. Chronic stress happens when your body doesn't get the message that the threat is over, or when the threats keep coming day after day. What causes this? Sometimes it's big life stressors like grief or illness, job insecurity, but often it's a low level ongoing tension from things like poor sleep, financial pressure, social media comparison, time scarcity, or feeling unsupported. It was on that time scarcity, by the way, that it kind of queued up this topic for me this morning. There was a wonderful Network 21 audio. Carol, I know I think I shared it over to you. That was really, really great on this, on margins. Margins of time is what was kind of focused on that. So your body treats these stressors the same as it would a physical danger, keeping cortisol and adrenaline levels high. Remember those stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. So it's keeping those cortisol and adrenaline levels high. Over time, this wears down the body. Chronic stress has been linked to high blood pressure, insulin resistance, suppressed immune function, gut dysbiosis, anxiety, depression, and even memory loss. The hippocampus, our brain region involved in learning and memory, can shrink under constant exposure to high cortisol. So constant exposure to that stress hormone of cortisol. This isn't just, quote, all in your head. It's literally happening at the cellular level. Mm-hmm. So 50 or 100 years ago, stress looked different. Life was not necessarily easier, but it was often more linear and local. People had clearer stop and start points in their day, sunrise to sunset, more physical activity, more face-to-face support, and fewer notifications pinging them at all hours. Many of today's stressors, digital overwhelm, 24/7 news cycles, urban isolation, and a culture of productivity at all costs are relatively new to our human biology. We haven't evolved to thrive in a world where we are always, quote, on, okay? So what are some solutions? The good news is that stress is manageable. Here are several evidence-based ways to reduce chronic stress and re-engage the body's natural recovery mechanism. Movement. Physical activity helps metabolize excess stress hormones. Walking, strength training, yoga, whatever form it takes, movement acts as a pressure release valve for both mind and body. By the way, as I was putting this together, of course, all of us maybe layer this over the HealthPointe program as we're thinking through it and kind of seeing how things set up against the HealthPointe program. Of course, this movement, what are we talking about in HealthPointe? Certainly that's a daily, getting in your steps daily, 10 to 15,000 steps or what have you. So bam, really great on that. Breath work and mindfulness, controlled breathing, like box breathing or 4-7-8 technique. And you might recall we had a session, it's in the archives on YouTube, where Erica Mitra did a segment on box breathing. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole on this, or you could certainly just look up other sources. There's a really good segment on that talked about box breathing. But breath work and mindfulness, controlled breathing like box breathing or 4-7-8 technique can stimulate the vagus nerve, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Even 5 minutes a day can help. And by the way, Emily, my wife, is running right now, so probably not able to contribute in the way that she would like to, but she, as I think I alluded to last week, is experiencing some really profound benefits to this breath work and meditation and so forth as it relates to cortisol levels. So at some point, we'll all look forward to her unpacking that and how it literally is showing on her CGM. So she's wearing a continuous glucose meter, on the back of her arm. And it's amazing, what she's seeing in terms of what she used to see, and then invoking this technique, what it's showing on that data and how she's feeling and so forth. So looking forward to that. She just has to stop running sometime and come in here and contribute. I know you're listening, Emily, so that I'm calling you out here. All right, next.
Eric, she has to win her marathon first, so just give her some time.
That's true. That's true.
Don't worry, Emily. You just go, girl.
You go. Well, I was getting ready here, and she said, "I'm gonna run outside." For those of us in Michigan, we've got some nice warm temperatures, beautiful temperatures for her to run outside. So she's running outside, taking advantage of the weather. Yes. So you go, girl. You get that race done. But after that race, we're expecting you to hop on here. Okay. Social connection. Talking to someone you trust, even briefly, releases oxytocin, a hormone that buffers the stress response. Isolation increases stress vulnerability, while community heals. And again, I think about in HealthPointe, what do we do? First of all, we've got a coach. We've got somebody that, we can connect to, that rhythm often of a daily connection, to be able to tap into a coach, or as business builders, maybe we're connecting with our mentor, our coach that helps with so many things. But it's that social connection of that trusted individual that you just know, has your best interest. They love you. They're working with you, alongside you. There's that. There's things like this, our Saturday morning walk and talks. I mean, this is a level of social connection and community. And there's other ones throughout the week, certainly, that we have. Sleep, that was one that we recently talked about on Voices of HealthPointe, and had a lot of fun on that. Remember the pillow talk commentary? That was I think that just spiked our member contribution on that episode. That was a lot of fun when we talked about that and pillow talk, for sure. But on sleep, chronic stress disrupts sleep, and poor sleep worsens stress, which is a vicious cycle. So prioritizing sleep hygiene, things that we talked about, like, no screens before bed, having a cool room, having it dark, this helps restore balance. Boundaries with technologies is another point. Our brains aren't wired for constant input. Creating small buffers, like a screen-free morning, or setting, quote, no notification hours, can reduce cognitive overload. So dealing, tech is good, but boundaries and proactive strategies with stress or with tech, that is, can really help with this stress component, and not letting it be so chronic. You can strategize for that. And last, but certainly not least in this HealthPointe realm, is meaningful nutrition. Stress increases cravings for sugar and processed carbs. I'm going to give a quote a little bit later, if maybe in our roundtable discussions about that. But isn't that interesting? Stress increases cravings for sugar and processed carbs, but long term, these spike insulin and feed inflammation, right? So think about the vicious circle. Eating nutrient-dense whole foods supports hormone balance and mood regulation, right? So we've talked a lot about that. So getting that meaningful nutrition. So finally, it helps to reframe stress. Some stress is unavoidable, but our relationship to it can change. By building awareness of our body's signals and engaging in intentional recovery practices, we move from burnout towards resilience. You don't need to eliminate all stress, but you do need to give your biology time to rest, recover, and heal. The goal isn't to escape challenge, it's to be able to meet life with strength, clarity, and adaptability. And that starts with respecting what stress is, what it does, and how we can partner with our bodies to live well, even in a demanding world. So with that, I'll open it up for any commentary that people have on this very important topic of stress. And while we're waiting on that, as people collect their thoughts, I'm going to so out of Robert Sapolsky's book, you know, he just really just makes it very, very clear with this chronic versus this acute versus chronic stress and zebra. So there's an image that says zebras, and then it's stress, next run, next forget. So if you're a zebra, it's stress, run, forget. Stress, run, forget. But humans, it's stress, overthink, repeat, ulcer. Stress, overthink, repeat, ulcer. Now, of course, we don't have to do that. That's the point. Is not to maybe be more like the zebra and forget. You know, it's kind of a fun or interesting commentary where it's talking about the body's desire for like sugar and stuff like that under stress. And I think that was really adequately handled in what I already went through. But there was, so Robert Sapolsky, he's been on a number of podcasts. He's really interesting looking individual. He kind of looks like a bear with big curly long hair and a big beard. And he was on Andrew Huberman. For those that enjoy watching or listening to Andrew Huberman, he's got a lot of good content on there. But he said, Robert Sapolsky did, he said, he says, how about you get this one, the answer to this question, and you will have done more good for the health of humanity since Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine. And that is, why is it that when we feel like nobody loves us, we eat Oreo cookies? I love that. So you can see he kind of has a fun way of communicating and writing books. So I kind of like that one. I've got some other stuff here, but I'll continue to open it up to the group here for any comments on this topic of stress. If you guys are stressing me out here by not answering.
Okay, well, Eric, I'm just going to say the giant thank you that everybody else wants to express, because again, you came up with a so pertinent topic to everybody, and all those little underlying undertones. All roads lead to HealthPointe. You know, I mean, it just again grounds the fact that this program, with everything that we do with this program, you know, we always say, you know, it's a healthy lifestyle change, and, you know, you're eating healthy, and, you know, you're limiting your carbs, and, you know, you're focusing on your protein, and you're focusing on, you know, how to eat and how to live healthy. But I never thought to tell somebody, hey, by doing this program, you can like really reduce your stress in your life. But guess what? You just said, I can say that, you know, I mean, and there's plenty of documentation to support it. So it's just, again, we're just so lucky that you're so scientific-y, you know, that you are our Bill Nye the Science Guy. You know, we got to come up with some kind of a HealthPointe term for you. I'm going to work on that. But, you know, just again, just thank you, and such useful information that we can share with anybody. Like, I'm hoping you can get this, like, you know, up in YouTube by tomorrow, because I have a couple family members I want to share this with tomorrow. So, and it's not me. So like, maybe they'll listen. So, you know, and it's just tips. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to listen and, oh, I want to sign up on HealthPointe tomorrow, but just tips that they can realize that they can make the life better if they want to. So thank you again.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's always great, of course, to hear appreciation, and all of you, and Kathy, you in particular are so fervent on the appreciation, but I am just so grateful for all of us here that gather. I think in the early days of doing this, I shared with Carol, if it wasn't for you guys, I think I would hop on here just because I enjoy doing this, and it was lonely thinking to have a one room Zoom, or one person Zoom, an echo chamber, just talking to myself. But I just love to be able to be part of a like-minded community. Everybody contributes so well, and it's just, I just love it. So thank you very much.
Well, Eric, I do agree with Kathy, and it is so interesting to me. I'm going to stop. I'm trying to find a shady spot here. It is so interesting to me, your topics and how integrated they are with other people's topics that have had no communication with each other prior to the meeting or the walk and talk, and yet they all seem to go together. And we have marveled over this for many, many walk and talks, how one thing just weaves into another. So that was a great opener, and certainly relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is interesting, isn't it, Carol, where so many times we're just like, geez, we didn't even like plan this, and yet we're talking about the same thing, or we're covering the same type of topics. One of the things that I wanted on, and we'll kind of wrap up here shortly on this topic of, why zebras don't get ulcers, and the whole topic of stress and so forth. I would be, very remiss not to bring in a product that is, what's the title of it? Stress relief probiotic. Stress relief probiotic. So, the things that we bullet pointed as far as working with stress, we talked about, movement. We talked about breath work and mindfulness. We talked about social connection. We talked about sleep. We talked about boundaries with tech, and we talked about meaningful nutrition. And this stress relief probiotic, as certainly coaches know, that there is more than one. There's a couple of different probiotics that are offered, but this one is uniquely formulated. It has a melon extract that's kind of a proprietary element in it, along with something like 18 billion, I forget the nomenclature for that, with bacteria.
PFU.
But what is it? PFUs?
CFU.
CFUs, yes. Yeah. So it's just some ginormous amount, I will say. How's that for a scientific term, Kathy? How's that for Bill Nye, the science guy? Ginormous. That's my scientific terminology. A ginormous amount of CFUs that, and the nice thing about this, it's in our daily habits that this stuff moves the needle, right? We talk about that. And one of the things with supplementation that makes me so fervent on it is the ability to set up a daily regimen to it. I mean, this is as simple as adding these to the little weekly tray, the Sunday through Monday, along with the double X, along with the omegas, and to put this in there. Or if you like the other probiotic, then certainly use that one, but whatever one that you choose. But sometimes I hear, maybe on podcasts, these folks that are good, meaningful contributors to the health space, but they'll say, yeah, so on that nutritional element that you want to get, what you want to do is go eat Brazil nuts for that, okay? Yeah. Or go eat this melon for that. It would be the equivalent of saying, to get this melon extract, eat this melon 3 times a week. And I don't know about everybody else. I think that's good advice. Of course, we don't look to have the supplementation, I mean, the very nature of that term is it's to supplement. It adds to what your whole food eating is like. But when I hear people say, oh, and you can get this vitamin D by eating this and this thing that is good for your stress by eating this melon, I just go, you know what? That's great. And maybe in a perfect world, I'll eat that this week because I just listened to your podcast. But am I going to do that 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? I don't know. But what I do know is that every day I can add a supplement, or every week I can load up my supplement tray, and then I'm assured that I'm getting those, here it is again, ginormous amount of CFUs for the help with stress and so forth. So there's that commentary. There's a couple other things I wanted to mention here that I thought were pretty good. These are actually some comments on Sapolsky's book.
I'll tell you, while you're finding that, let me jump in
Yeah.
for a second.
Sure.
And so part of what you were sharing was the mind-body connection of the holisticness of how our body operates. And as HealthPointe coaches, we often, well, I'll just say, as a HealthPointe coach, I can sometimes get stressed when I'm helping someone and I'm trying to figure out how to help them maneuver their path. And I have a client who recently lost weight, lost maybe 12 pounds. They have like 20 to lose, so they're doing okay. But when they're taking the double X and the megas and the fiber and the balance within, and I'm real big on the Nutrilite bars. I mean, you can go buy bars at the grocery store, but I find when I eat a Nutrilite bar, half a bar, man, my body just goes into a certain calm place. I have a half a bar and some water, and the chemistry within my body just falls into a really good place. And so she's doing all those things, and then she was really disappointed because her blood work barely changed, and her blood work wasn't good. And so one of the things I had to, with the help of Carol, came back to her to talk about was she lives her life in a state of almost 100% stress.
Well-
I almost see her as someone who has a power outlet. And if she sees somebody or a situation where there's stress, she plugs in.
Which
And she's
isn't hard to do today.
melancholy. She's melancholy, caloric, and so part of it is that she gets upset when everybody doesn't follow the rules or different things. And so she lives in she's a teacher, so the teaching environment is a bit difficult. Single parent mom, so she has a lot of things, but it's the importance of the mental side of this to help you to begin to become stronger mentally, to be able to let go of some of the picking your battles. What's really important, and those kinds of things. And so so as we're coaching people, and if they get stuck, one of the things I now know is to kind of take a peek at where are you at in the stress levels of your life. And then I'll just finish up by saying many people know that I'm involved in Wim Hof breathing, and one of the things that when I do that, so a session for me is about 15 minutes to 30, depending on how much time I have. But part of what that does is that I shut my brain off for that 15 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes. So my brain gets a 15-minute rest with nothing going into it, and it just gets to like settle. And there's just something really powerful about being able to turn your brain off and let it rest for a little while. So I've bloviated long enough. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bloviate on and on, David. That is such powerful. I love that. And it's so probably relatable and very, very key, turning that off, and the individual that you're talking about, wanting to plug in to things and being that fixer, right? I can fix them, I can fix it. And that's admirable, but it's also, you can be very stressful, right? I like your metaphor, your imagery, David, almost like a power cord, and here's a problem, plug in. Here's another one, plug in. Quite the visual.
Sometimes helping them talk about it too releases a lot of stress for them, and it also gives you what's really going on, so that you can either give them some recommendations, or sometimes it's just being a listening ear. I mean, people out in the marketplace don't want to hear your situations. They're all in a hurry. They've got their own deals. And when they come across somebody, not that we want to have a pity party every time we talk to one of our clients, but I also think that asking some what we call purposeful questions, how that stress is created, they can plug in more from a personal nature of, oh, when that happens again, this is what I can do. And it helps them kind of regurgitate their situations and then say, how can I be a little bit better at this? Or you can ask them, what do you think could change that situation? And again, asking questions of them will help release that stress of their situation, number one, and two, have them come with solutions. Because the more we can have them come with solutions, then as they move into lifetime maintenance, we're not always going to be there for them every single day. And so it is going to be up to them to come with some solutions. And so this is kind of training ground for them to be able to do that. So it's just a thought.
Time and time again, when you cover something, Carol, you are saying things that or have learned over the years of your coaching and helping and mentoring, that I'll just say this, like the course that I'm going through right now, which is a board certification level on coaching, the thing that you just instinctively or intuitively covered, Carol, you could teach that module in the course. And I'll give you a very specific. So in coaching and board certification, there's a lot of acronyms. One of them is RULE, RULE. Okay, what you just said, Carol, is walks through the elements of that acronym, and I'll just for those that are curious, the R in RULE is resist the writing reflex. When I say writing, I don't mean writing like scribbling, writing as in like trying to make that situation right. Your job isn't always to fix it, or as you were talking, David, to plug in and fix it. That is a huge thing to overcome as somebody that is a coach, because we think that to be a coach means you fix things. That is not what you do as a coach. Fundamentally, you empower them to fix things for themselves. Okay, so this acronym, the RULE acronym, is first, resist the writing reflex. Avoid the urge to correct or fix the client. Let them lead their change process. Okay. U is understand your client's motivations. Explore what matters most to them and drives their desire to change. L is listen. What did Carol just say? Listening is what she just said. Listen with empathy. Use reflective listening to deeply understand that perspective. That reflective listening, what I tended to do, certainly, and always need to correct it, is I listen with what am I going to say next, right? It's a constant battle, and something I need to get better at, versus just listening. And there's another acronym which I won't unpack, but it's called the OARS acronym, OARS. And when you hear something from somebody, to literally reflect it back, to paraphrase what they just told you and reflect it back to them, lets them know that you're listening. And the bigger thing is that you actually listen, because you're going to have to reflect this back to them. And in our board certification, we have to record these sessions and upload them to faculty, which are grading them against a rubric. And trust me, If you do not do reflective listening, you're out of there. You are getting, the equivalent of the teacher's red marks all over your paper. If you are not reflecting, listening back. And then E, and again, Carol, you handled this just in your, off the cuff commentary. Again, it's just so ingrained in what you do. You've learned this over years. Is E is empower your client, support their belief that they can make changes and take meaningful steps. So that's the RULE acronym, which, I am breaking down, but Carol, you just do it. I don't want to say naturally, because you learned this over your years of doing this. Yeah.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey.
I had to stop and write those down, but I missed the U as you were talking. So it's the resist the urge to correct. But what was the U?
The U is understand your client's motivations, explore what matters most to them and what drives their desire to change. So again,
Okay.
U is understand your client's motivations, and explore what matters most to them and what drives their desire to change.
Great. You use this with family members all the time. I remember empathy training when we were teaching years ago, right, Dave Dassow? We
Yes.
had active listening, and you had to reflect and all that kind of stuff. And like with our family members, this is I like the acronym because it does pinpoint it. But so every time we get on the phone with one of our family members that always has drama and is one of those that wants to plug into everybody else's problems, then we can have this rule right in front of our phone call. And it's a perfect way to address some of these situations. So I'm glad to see that and that acronym. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for asking more about it. One of the things that is taught throughout the course that I'm going through is, and periodically, I know it's very systematic on the part of the faculty, as they talk about, kind of some of the things that you're talking about, Pam, and David talked about. And this is this detachment that you doesn't mean that you don't care to have a certain amount of detachment, meaning, if we internalize every client and every client's experience, what is that going to do to us over time? It's not going to be good. So they emphasize a certain amount of detachment. And what I found is, in invoking this RULE acronym, it's not a forceful thing to be detached. In fact, what I found is, when I was in fix-it mode, it's very, I don't want to say, well, sometimes it can be stressful, but whether it's a family member or somebody you're coaching through HealthPointe, if it is something where I'm trying to convince and fix and persuade and so forth, that's a lot of work. But invoking the RULE acronym, where it's more asking and listening and affirming, they're doing the work. I don't want to say they're doing the work, meaning I'm trying to get off easy here, but that is fundamentally, for lasting change, they have to do the work. We're not trying to set up the definition of healthy, being a great coach is not setting up a codependent relationship with your client, where the only way that they perform well is with you, clutching them. The definition of effective coaching is that, in a perfect world, in a certain amount of time, they stand on their own 2 feet because they have learned to do these things that, yes, you are guiding them and coaching them on, but they do it for their own biology. They do it for their own family situation. They do it for their own socioeconomic situation. They do it for their own family dynamics. And that is where they are empowered. And that's where ultimately I think of it like a baby or a young child that learns to tie their shoes. If we're still tying their shoes when they're 22 years old, that's not the goal, right? They need to figure it out on their own for their life, for their circumstances. And these acronyms, ironically, make it easier to do that. So,
when I use that picture of plugging in, and so one of the things that we need to learn to do is to plug into audios and to plug into reading. And so I'm a sanguine, so I'm not the smart person on the block. However, I do believe that when I read, it's another one of those forms where I've stopped thinking. I let my brain rest because I'm just kind of focused on what I'm reading, and I don't allow all the other cares of the world to get into my brain for when I'm reading. And so there's a difference. It took me a long time to realize there's a big difference between listening to audios and reading. And reading has some really strong benefits.
so true. And I like how you say that it's, I like the metaphor too, the plugging and unplugging, but to give the brain that rest, in a sense, that almost like a meditative state when you're reading. That's so true. And you're right. We don't get that when we're listening to audios or when we're in a social Zoom like this. It's different when we read. And again, as you know, maybe in HealthPointe, but certainly in Network 21, what is the daily habit that is encouraged in there? Is what? 15 minutes a day, right? Or X amount of pages. I think sometimes people move it over to, but 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Great stuff, David. Thank you. You are the smart person in here, by the way. You're fun. You're sanguine, so you're fun. You always have these fun stories and visuals and throwing the starfish in the ocean and stuff like that. But yeah, you're definitely the smart one here for sure. Well,
You know, every time I hear somebody say a little detrimental comment about themselves, and we all do this, it makes me think, David, of our wonderful late friend, Skip Ross. And he used to always say, "Is that what you want?" And I catch myself so many times, and other people too, but you know, I'm working on myself. And that is that what I want? If it's not, then I have to reframe that and say, I love life, I'm sanguine, but I've learned, and then whatever you want, that's what you state. And Skip taught me, Hank and I both that many years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that I'm much smarter because of my community.
That's right.
We all are. Yeah, Skip Ross, boy, we could do a whole Saturday morning. Maybe we will sometime. Maybe we'll dedicate an episode to the amazing lessons of Skip Ross. And yeah, Carol, those little annoying but helpful Skip Rossisms, you know, is that what you want? Is that what you want? It's like, shut up, get out of my head, Skip. Is that what you want? I just want my pity party for a moment. Get out of my head. Is that what you want? Yeah, for those that are wondering what the heck we're talking about, Skip Ross is just he's passed on, but he's a master teacher, has an incredible total series. You could check with your coach, with your mentor on this. It's called the Dynamic Living Series. It's timeless, and it's probably one of the most common, I would say, worldwide. I don't know how you guys feel, those that are plugged into Network 21, but I would say of all the audios that are ever commented on, where it doesn't matter whether it's an Australian or somebody in Europe or here in North America, they will reflect on the profound difference that occurred in their life as a result of listening to the Dynamic Living series. And I think one of the keys is it's a series. It's not an audio or an statement. It's this repetitive series that if you go through the entire dynamic living series, you learn so much. And then there's some in this group, I think, that have had direct tie-ins back with Skip Ross and his ranch that he had for helping the youth. I know Pam and Steve, Jeremy, I think, as a what are they, like a leadership trainer?
They're
there and-
leadership trainers, Eric. And
Yeah.
Jeremy actually still is part of that crew that does Zooms and stuff. And just to get off topic for a second, how ironic that you mentioned Jeremy's name at that moment. I'm standing here looking at him and his turkey he just got this morning.
Oh my gosh.
He went out turkey hunting and he was just showing me the beautiful feathers and the fan, the tail and all that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness.
Wow, congratulations, Jeremy.
He said,
So
congratulations, Jer.
Thanks, Eric.
Let's see. Hey, Jer, say hi.
Hi.
hey, good morning, Jeremy.
I can't hear you, but good seeing you.
Yeah. Well, again,
I'm-
tell him congratulations. That is so awesome.
I've got earbuds on, so he couldn't hear, but and I'm not sophisticated enough to know how to switch it to the regular thing without taking my earbuds off.
No worries. Oh yeah, beautiful Tom turkey there.
He's saying a
Wow.
beautiful Tom turkey. I'm sorry, maybe some of you girls don't care about seeing that, so I won't show anymore.
Hey, well, I'll just speak up for myself, and I'm excited to be able to talk with Jeremy and Steve. We often talk about whether it's turkey hunting or fishing or deer hunting, and so as a meat eater, I don't have any problem with harvesting the food that I eat, and Emily and I certainly enjoy pretty much every week good venison, good salmon, and good wild game. So,
Mhm.
but however you choose to get your turkey, whether it's ground turkey at the grocery store or fresh turkey on an April morning like Jeremy's getting it, more power to you.
Yeah.
But,
And there's a simple one, the simple ones like Hank and I, and every once in a while in the stores, they'll have two beautiful turkey legs packaged together. And I
Yeah.
buy a bunch of them because we can take those and we can roast them with just all kinds of seasonings. And then we take organic sweet potatoes, which probably aren't on HealthPointe, but they're definitely long-term, very low glycemic, very, very high fiber, very high in your yellow vegetables, your vitamin A and what have you, carotene. And we put that olive oil on that, put them in foil. And I know you're not supposed to use foil, but we put them in foil because we haven't figured out anything better yet. Wrap them up, put them in the oven, and oh my gosh, that's like a Thanksgiving or Easter dinner for two. So
oh my gosh.
That
it's
sounds
just
great,
so
Carol.
delicious.
We want the recipe for that because I never know how to prepare this turkey. So I
Yeah.
share that. That sounds wonderful.
Well, and
That-
we like dark meat, which again, I know HealthPointe is a proponent of white meat and it's lower in fat, but I will also tell you that there's been studies done that the dark meat is actually healthier for you. So I gotta be a little careful here because you want to watch your fat content. But actually, in real life, in lifetime maintenance, the dark meat is actually healthier for you. It has a lot more nutrients in it than the white meat. And we were so excited about that because we never liked the white meat. So it was really a revelation. I got to go back and find that article, but probably not a
that
topic for
sounds-
HealthPointe.
No, it's not. Well, but as you said, for those that are in lifetime maintenance, it very much is. And for those that are not in lifetime maintenance, hey, come join the party. It's fun. It's fun in lifetime maintenance. Your goal is not to stay in perpetual 6-week cycles for the rest of your life. Your goal is to get to your ultimate health and wellness goal. That's your weight goal. And then let your coach help you solidify that. It can take 3 to 9 months to solidify that. but then come join the party, have the turkey leg dinner with the rest of us, and enjoy your olive oil and your avocados, all these
Yep.
things that are kind of a no-no in your 6-week cycle. It is a lot of fun to get out of that 6-week cycle. I'm not bashing the 6-week cycle. We've all done it. We've all been there. You got to pay your dues, get the job done, but come join the party. It's we'll have a big turkey leg dinner, and with lots of olive oil and avocados, all good healthy stuff. You're just it's good for maintenance, not for weight loss. Well, as so often happens, we've had so much fun and conversation, but we did start a little bit later than not normal. We often start just a little bit after the hour, so we still have 5-10 minutes left. And David earlier was mentioning about sanguine personality, and for those that aren't familiar with the personalities, that's just somebody that is kind of fun loving and maybe not as keen in on the details. And for the sake of the melancholy personalities that heard me queue up the segments on bookending and then wondering, as a melancholy, which is very analytical, very detail oriented, when in the heck are they ever going to get to that segment called bookending? So for you melancholies, I think we need to turn it over to Carol and to Kathy to cover the segment on bookending. Carol is going to unpack it as it relates to bookending on mental detox and so forth, and Kathy a segment on particularly tomorrow being Easter Sunday, maybe about bookending in the context of food that you're eating and other things that are HealthPointe related. So Carol, over to you.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter, and so many of the things that were covered today on our topics just segued so perfectly into some of the things I wanted to say, but actually they've been covered quite well. So I won't belabor a lot, but there is, I'm listening. I'm sorry. I was trying to find a shady spot and I'm in full sun here. So forgive me for that. So one of the big things, I've been listening to huge amounts of HealthPointe audios that I've been able to get my hands on. And what is really evident to me is the amount of emphasis put on mental detox. I'm going to talk in particular the Australians and how heavy, probably heavier even than the eating is the mental, because they said the mental is what's going to rule the rest of your life, and that's what we want. Is we want lifetime maintenance. But so anyway, every morning I've been reading a book, and it's probably relevant. It's a book it's by a Christian author, Max Lucado, and it's called "Be Anxious for Nothing." Finding calm in a chaotic world. And we do live in a chaotic world. And sometimes your holidays will bring a little more chaos. And sometimes it's just not, it's just the situation that it is. So I would say that, first of all, if you feel led to it, get the book, Be Anxious for Nothing. It's a book I read every morning, and it just really centers my brain. David talked about that. It really centers your brain so you can be strong for other people. You can be strong for yourself. You can be strong for your family. But if you're coaching, it's important to be strong for other people too. And for some reason, that book really helps me to get things straightened out as I'm paying it forward to other people, the things that I've learned. So I would just say to get that book, again, everything's been covered, and I don't want to steal Kathy's time. I would just say one last thing, and this is just to kind of prep you, that the beginning book and is to prepare yourself, prepare your mental attitude, because if you're on the program, you're coaching the program, you've made healthy choices, and you choose not to quote unquote pig out, or you just take small amounts of things and you just whatever. Sometimes people will make snide remarks. Sometimes they'll make remarks that are just innocent, but you take them in the wrong way. And so probably that happens the most when you're around relatives that you're not normally around. So whether it be phone calls, whether it be family dinners, whatever, just make sure that you come with an attitude of blessing. Make sure that your whole frame of mind is, no matter what they say, return back with a really blessed, wonderful, uplifting, edifying remark back to them, because that's the best way that you can counteract an anxious feeling that you might get from something that they might say. People don't think of what they say many times. They're not mean. They just sometimes don't think. All of us, sometimes we just don't think. And so if you experience that, just remember, I'm going to replace that with a blessing and just give them some kind of a wonderful remark. Sometimes they might just even be asking about what you're doing. And that's a great lead in. And then say, hey, let's talk about that, beginning of the week. Let me give you a call. Let me send you something. And it might bless your life, or you might be able to bless somebody else's life. And again, just keep talking in those terms. And I think that you'll feel so much better. You'll feel like the weight's been lifted off your shoulder, perhaps of a comment that you might take home, and which a number of you mentioned, regurgitate weeks on end. And you just put it away and you say, I exchange that for a blessing to somebody else, and then just walk away and feel great about yourself. So that would be my takeaway as far as that. And then when you finish your Easter weekend, bookend it with great audios, great reading, and feel good about yourself. Whether or not you ate the banana cream pie, whatever else we're going to do tomorrow.
Hey, Carol, I'm making it from scratch, and I'm not sure I can stand just 2 bites. It might have to be a whole piece.
You go for it, Pam. And I don't want to, it was so cute when you said banana cream pie yesterday. So you enjoy it. That pie has been made with love. That is a message of love to your friends, and enjoy it. And Monday's a protein day. Hey.
You got it. You got it.
Hey, Pam, don't forget about carb blocker.
And carb blockers.
Absolutely. I'll either do that or glucose health before, for sure.
There you go.
All
That
of it.
will at least help. Yeah, both. That'll at least help.
And with that, Kathy, I don't want to take any more of your time, because I know you had some things that we want to hear from you.
Okay.
So happy Easter, everybody.
Yes, and I segue in with along with Carol, wishing everybody a happy Easter. And yeah, we had a great segment on before Thanksgiving about things to do, because Thanksgiving is definitely the eating holiday. But I mean, let's face it, anytime you're getting together with family and friends, it's an eating holiday. That's what food is paramount for getting together with people. So it just is. So, and that's okay, because we can still eat, and we can be that not weird person, as Eric likes to say. Don't be weird, to quote Eric Rashi. So, bookending though, what I've discovered. So just as a quick reminder, I'm typically the step queen. We are going on 3 years and I think 25 days today, I think consecutively of doing 10,000 plus steps. Okay. And during holidays, yes, during holidays, I still did that. So the best way to do it is, if you can work it into your schedule, try and get a couple thousand first thing tomorrow morning before you get ready to go to church. It might require getting up a little bit earlier, but get a couple thousand in to just kind of start getting your metabolism going. Make sure you have a good, solid protein breakfast. Okay, because that protein is going to be there. It's going to fuel you. And don't think, okay, well, I'm going to have like a big dinner at 3 o'clock, so I'm not going to snack. Oh God, don't not snack. Do not snack. I repeat, do not snack. You need the protein snacks every hour and a half to keep you going, as Carol always likes to say, to stoke that fire. Okay. So make sure you have lots of, and it doesn't have to be a lot, like half a bar, a bite of a bar. Cut the bars. I have bars cut up in my purse in Ziploc bags. Every time, wherever I'm at, I set an 1.5 minute timer on my watch. I don't care if I'm grocery shopping, if I'm at a doctor's appointment, whatever. If that alarm goes off, guess what? I'm popping in a base bar. And not at church, because you can't eat at church. At least we can't as Catholics. But we throw something in our mouth right before church. And by the time we get down, we're good. We can still have a snack as soon as we get out of church before we get to breakfast. So those are key, is just making sure you keep that fire going. You can get a couple thousand in. And drink some water too. definitely drink your water. I like pretty much only drink water when we're at family events. Sometimes I'll bring a twist tube and put it in, but sometimes I don't. I just drink the water. And another thing that I've discovered that I will do is, like Carol was saying, you know, if you want to take a little taste of something, just a little scoop, but make sure, hopefully they serve salad. If they don't, okay, make sure at least you get your veggies and your fruits in, and get a good solid, you know, piece of protein, whether it be ham or turkey or whatever it might be. But one time, what I did is, I know where I go, they sometimes don't have vegetables. So I offered to bring a veggie tray. That way I had vegetables to eat. So, you know, you can kind of keep that in mind too, and what your program is. And if somebody says something to you, oh, you're only going to take a little bit of that, a little bit of that. My phrase is, this year I'm working on regaining my health, and I'm doing a proven program that works. And, you know, yeah, I'm only going to take a little taste because I know she worked hard on it and I want to taste it, you know? So, and then after dinner, I'm the weird one in the fact that if we're all sitting around on the couch visiting, I'm not sitting around on the couch. I'm walking the perimeter of the room. I'm still there. I'm talking with everybody, and everybody knows by now, oh, Kathy's doing her steps. You know, it's who I am. They know it. And because I'm not going to go home at 7 o'clock tomorrow night and have to hammer out 7,000 steps. Not going to happen. But you know what else isn't going to happen? I'm not going to miss my 10,000 a day streak either. I'm going on 4 years now. I have to maintain my reign as step queen. So these are all just little things. Drink your water. And even after you eat your meal, have that snack, because you do not want to go in starvation mode, especially if you ate a little bit more than you should have. Okay, so those are my little tips from the Step Queen. Just do your best and walk around a little bit. And you don't have to get your 10,000 if you're not at that point. But even if you get 1,000 after you've eaten, you still at least walk that off a little bit too. So keep it in mind, and everybody have a blessed Easter. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Talk about a blessing to hear both of you on bookend, you know, the bookending and strategies for our mind. And Carol, thank you so much for that. It's such a key thing, and such, you know, practical, pragmatic things. I mean, that's reality. That can be reality. That can be the situation where we're in a gathering of family and somebody makes a comment, and I love how you give that suggestion on what you can say and how to handle it. It's such great pragmatic, practical advice. And then bookend it with, you know, getting in a bunch of audios the next day, again, getting that, feeding your mind, feeding your attitude and your soul. And then Kathy, you are just so amazing on your tips. I can imagine, I can visualize you walking around the perimeter in there. And you know, my personality, if you know, if I was like you and if I had my 3+ years at it, I would be like owning that. I would be like, and you do. I mean, like you said, people know that what you're doing there, but I mean, you're like an elite athlete. It would be like somebody that is like a professional, you know, I know you guys love hockey, you know, professional hockey players, something, you know, people that are at that level, they do things that are different than the rest of us, you know, normal mortals. And so for somebody that is stringing together 3 years and 25 days of 10,000 steps per day, which again is extraordinary, not something that any of us can claim. You hold that title on your own, but to be able to just look them square in the eye and say, you know, this is what I do, you know, and I'm, you know, just because it's Easter or whatever holiday, I'm not losing that, is, you know, a real, you know, a postured event that you can certainly have there. But really love it. The hydration, the snacking, all great stuff. So guys, this has again been such an amazing episode here. Anybody else before we wrap up?
Eric, I wanted to just real quickly, my phone ran out, so I'm on Hank's tablet here. I just wanted to say that tomorrow, I was going to do it tomorrow night, but it'll be after the fact. For those of you that maybe don't have entertaining tomorrow, or you want to really stick to your HealthPointe program, you're really doing a good job. I'm actually doing a dinner, but I'm doing it for one of our HealthPointe clients. So there's a lot of stress, huh? So we're not going to be extremely hard-nosed about it, but we are going to do things like I'm going to do shrimp with cocktail sauce. Okay, dip it in a little cocktail sauce. You won't go over the cliff on that. We're going to have some cheese. You can have some crackers with it, but I try to pick healthy crackers. You don't have to have 50 of them, but you know, just a few, maybe a little hummus. So that's for snacks. These are all healthy things. Then for dinner, we're having salmon. Now that sounds weird. You know, most people have turkey or ham or what have you. Well, we looked at the ham, I looked at the turkey, I thought none of this fits in. Well, turkey, but I didn't want to cook a whole turkey. So we decided we would do salmon, and it's going to be salmon Mediterranean. And what we do is on the bottom, we bake this salmon. On the bottom, we take fresh basil herbs. You can buy them fresh right from the grocery store. Clip them, chip them, put them on the bottom, spray it with olive oil, put those on, put your salmon on top, then put garlic and onion, and then sprinkle it with tomato, a little feta cheese, black olives sliced, and I think that's it, and a little parsley. And then just bake it for about 15 minutes. And that's the salmon. And then we're going to have roasted zucchini on the side and a salad. And then for dessert, we're going to have strawberries, but we're going to have ice cream. I do have some carrot cake that I actually had left over from the last dinner. I put it in the freezer. I'm going to offer it if anybody really feels like they want to have a slice of carrot cake, they can. But the dessert will be strawberries. If they want to put a little chocolate on it, that'll be available. If they want to add a little ice cream, that'll be available. But if they want to just do strawberries and perhaps take some yogurt, I'm going to sweeten it with a little mango. And squirt that in there and make that as a little dip. They can just have strawberries and yogurt dip. So that's going to be my HealthPointe Easter dinner. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and that's one of them.
Is anybody else's mouth watering right now? Oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely delicious. I am catching the next flight down to Sarasota. We'll see you tomorrow, Carol. We are partying at your place. Oh my gosh.
Let me know. I'll throw 2 more on the salt.
Well, Eric, if you're going, I'm your wingman. I got to go too.
We might be having a group dinner here.
Yeah. And absolutely. What a great way to close out the program with just such a delicious, absolutely delicious. Sounds not only delicious, but visually appealing as well. Sounds beautiful for sure. So, well, nothing more beautiful than this program on Saturday morning. Thank you, everyone that came and was just maybe a fly on the wall, and certainly everyone that contributed. And we'll see everyone next week, same time, same place. Till then, bye-bye. Happy Easter.
Adios.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Easter.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.